afternoon, good evening, good morning, or wherever you might be. Hi, welcome to another edition of This is Nnoa, our weekly podcast with yours truly, Captain Rick Wright, host, and our executive producer and director is Reuben Wright III. Well, every week we get together with the National Naval Officers Association family. Big highs today to our great distinguished leader, Captains. That is, no, I'm able to, hey, Admiral Sinclair Harris. I was bringing you down when I'm thinking about our great guests we're going to be having today. But Admiral Sinclair Harris, United States Navy, our president, and Captain Simonia Blasingame, our executive vice president. And on behalf of the board of directors of the National Naval Officers Association, it's a pleasure to have you on board today. Hey, just the other day, I was on with the D.C. chapter of the National Naval Officers Association with Captain Jerome Davis and all those good folk, and they had a beautiful sister from Florida, Jacksonville, Florida, Cynthia Bird. Cynthia's got a big book out called Quiet Storm. It's about her father, Master Chief Sherman Bird, United States Navy. He was the first African-American diver explosive ordnance technician. What a story. And of course, this book is out. So hey, Cynthia, down in, big time, what can I say? Jacksonville, Florida, Cynthia Bird, your book is dynamite. Now, let me get with the program, everybody, because today we have an exciting, a tremendous guest today. When you talk about the United States Coast Guard in its present state, it is incredible because they have great leaders like Captain Warren Judge, United States Coast Guard. And man, I'm in heaven today because he is living in my hometown where I was born in 1943, Elizabeth City, North Carolina, and also to all the Vikings of the Elizabeth City State University, Viking Pride. Class of 1964 for me. But ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a pleasure to bring to the This is Nnoa podcast, Warren Judge, United States Coast Guard, Black Engineer of the Year, the Big Bear Award given him last week, Stars and Stripes. Now, hey, Captain Warren Judge, how you doing, guy?
Hey, greetings, Captain Wright. How are you doing, sir?
Man, I tell you, I'm in heaven this afternoon, man. Coast Guard, Navy, Marine Corps, Nnoa heaven, having you on board because you have had such a distinguished, incredible career. And man, it has a lot of parallelization with my upbringing. So, hey, Captain Warren Judge, hey, where's that hometown of yours? Are you from Florida? You're a Florida guy, aren't you?
Yes, sir. I'm a Floridian from Tampa, Florida. But first and foremost, I want to say thank you to the NNOA for having me on board for this podcast. I'm definitely humble and grateful to be here with you there, Captain Wright.
Well, you're a great NNOA member, too. And, of course, hey, Warren, never forget that morning we were out in San Diego, California. It was early in the morning, man, and I just got up. I'm headed over to the Admiral Kidd Club for our big NNOA annual conference, man. I come out, and there you are running, man, with some others, man, early. Like 07 in the morning, man. And I holler, hey, Captain Warren Judge. And you came back with me and said, hey, Captain Wright, Vikings Pride, man.
Viking Pride, Viking Pride, Viking Pride.
Out in San Diego, California. Now, Captain Warren Judge, you're born Tampa, Florida. You said you got a brother, I think was in the U.S. Coast Guard. Hey, what high school you finished down in Florida, man?
Yes, sir. Captain Wright, I finished at King High School in 1984. Then I went on to the University of Florida for a couple of years before, academics wasn't necessarily my strong point at the time. The University of Florida was the #1 party school back in the 80s. So I thought I would try to help it maintain its status.
Did you maintain it? Right. Hey, I got to do it, huh? What's that?
Florida that's what the Florida Gators used to do. Yes, sir. And then, after not doing well there, I talked to my brother, and my brother was in the Coast Guard. He was an electronics technician, and he told me about all the good things that he was doing in the Coast Guard. And I said, okay, time for me to take responsibility. And I joined the Coast Guard. But the interesting point is, I didn't tell my mom I was joining the Coast Guard until the Sunday before I left.
Oh, so
I left on Tuesday. So I told her on a Sunday after church, and, watched her cry.
And the tears flowed out of her eyes.
Tears from,
Yes.
her baby's getting ready to leave, and then also some tears from me not doing well at University of Florida and not holding up my half of the bargain.
Well, Captain Warren Judge, this is the 20th of February, the year 2021. And of course, I've taught at a PWI, Syracuse University, the Newhouse School, for 38 years, but I'm a product of 3 HBCUs that we'll get into. And of course, by getting on those big campuses, man, especially Florida. Hey, by the way, the weather's always great down in Florida too, right? Temperature, even in the wintertime, like when this is February, African American History Month, the party was on, huh?
Yes, sir. And down in the Florida area, anything below 60 equal winter.
Well, I tell you, let me see. Reuben Wright III, our exec producer, is snowing big time. Hey, Reuben, the visibility up, Reuben, or down? The visibility is down. We are broadcast from Syracuse, New York, man. So, okay, you got what I'm trying to relate to this great audience this afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Captain Warren Judge, the tears are flowing out of mom's eyes. Did you get on a bus, plane, or train to get to?
No, believe it or not, in 1986, when I joined the Coast Guard, that was my first time flying. And I flew from Tampa, Florida to Philadelphia. Then once we got in Philadelphia, we took a bus ride from Philadelphia over to Cape May, New Jersey. And, the crowd, it was hyped on the bus. And as we got closer to boot camp in Cape May, it got quiet, and then it got real quiet. Then we pulled on the campus there, pulled on the base, and then the recruiters, the boot pushers came out and started yelling, and it was game on.
Oh my God, Cape May, New Jersey, the Coast Guard's incredible training center for all United States Coast Guardsmen entering to the ranks of the Coast Guard. Hey, also happy birthday, Captain Warren Judge, the United States Coast Guard Reserve. I just thought of this. Celebrated birthday yesterday, the 19th of February.
Oh, yes, sir. Happy birthday to the Coast Guard Reserves.
Yes, kicking off in World War II. Hey, in a quick nutshell, Captain Warren Judge, you're a brand new Coast Guard recruit at Cape May, New Jersey. Tell us in a quick atmospheric feel for what was it like, man?
Oh, it was an interesting point coming from Florida, and then you meet up with some others in the airport, and you're on the bus, everybody's talking, joking, then you get on the campus there at Coast Guard Boot Camp, and it gets quiet. Then they come and start yelling at you, just grab something, get off the bus, don't grab your stuff, put your feet on these two yellow dots, and then they just started yelling, you don't know how to do this, and you don't even know why you're here, and just started yelling and screaming at us. And it was just like everything that you may have seen on the pictures or on TV. It was just like that back in the 80s. Yes, sir.
No fantasy, that was reality.
It was reality. And then the following morning, they wake you up at like old dark 30. It was like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. Saying like, oh, okay. Then you rub your eyes like,
yeah, it's like this.
I guess I am. I'm
Where am I? Look, Captain Judge. All right, you're at Cape May, New Jersey. You get through the program and all, and you graduate from the program. Did you have an idea of what you wanted to do at that time, or what?
No, go ahead. Coming out of boot camp, I went to the Coast Guard Cutter Reliance in Cape Canaveral, Florida, where I was a seaman. I was a seaman, painting the boat, chipping the paint off the boat, and then being a mess cook. And at the time, it was only, I think, 4 African Americans on board the cutter of like 70 people. So that was an interesting time back in the 80s, and just rolled with that. And then I started figuring out, okay, hey, what do I want to do for the Coast Guard? My initial thought was to come in for 3 to 4 years and get my GI Bill, the Montgomery GI Bill, and go back to the University of Florida. And so I can, continue on with my college. And then after that, I said, okay, start looking at the list of schools. And I said, let's go do something within communications. And I went to Radium School. I
So
went
where
to
was Radium School located?
RMA School in Petaluma.
Okay. And of course, hey, by the way, when you're riding that cutter out of Cape Canaveral, Florida, as a young seaman right out of the United States Coast Guard Training Center, Cape May, New Jersey, do y'all make any nice trips anywhere on that cutter? Or
Oh, yes, sir. We went pretty much all throughout the Caribbean. I got an opportunity to go to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. We went to Jamaica 2 or 3 times. We went to, I think, Curacao. So it was an eye-opening experience for me to get off the cutter and go and hang out and look at the sites, and then come back on the cutter and continue doing my job.
so the adventure was like, what, you spent 2 years on that baby, or?
No, I spent maybe 8 to 9 months. Then it went through FRAM. It went through midlife rehab.
Okay.
So after we got off there, they sent me to Coast Guard Station Ponce Inlet in Daytona Beach while I was waiting on RMA school. So I went there for about 3 to 4 months. Then I drove cross country in my 1981 Honda Prelude
Oh, wow.
to Petaluma, California. And back in the 80s, they didn't have the GPS and the cell phones. I had one of those big maps. I think it was a McNally,
Yes.
one of the big McNally map, and
Yes.
turn the page to make sure I'm on the right course. And then everywhere I stop, I had to call my mom, Colette. You have a Colette phone call from Warren Judge. Do you accept?
So you're traveling across the United States, money and funds are low. You got that pretty Coast Guard uniform on, though, headed to California.
Headed to California. 4 days of driving.
4 days. Man,
yes, sir.
For a young brother born and raised in Tampa, Florida, never flown before, this Coast Guard adventure is getting heavy, man.
Hey, Coast Guard adventure was getting heavy real quick.
Now, when you got to your A school, which was, you said electronics or communications, huh?
RM, it was a radioman.
Radioman. Okay,
yes, sir.
Radioman was the rating that you got.
Yes, RM.
Okay, so you got in those courses and everything, and the light bulb lit up big time. Did it light up?
Yes, I got out there, did well. I played a lot of intramural sports, and then I also had my first opportunity of being a public servant, where I was the coach of a basketball team, 10-year-old and 11-year-olds in the Petaluma area in Santa Rosa. So I would drive up to Santa Rosa and coach the team, go practice with the team. And then on Saturdays, we would play in the PAL Little League basketball. And I coached, and I had an opportunity, to see students graduate from never winning a game to winning, a few games, and then winning a few more games. So it was a really good time.
Well, your leadership was absolutely fantastic, laying the foundation for, my God, you have done just tremendous job, especially in community service, that we'll get into also a little bit later here in our This is Nnoa podcast. Okay, Captain Warren Judge, you finish up, you graduate from the school, you got graduation exercises. Where does the Coast Guard make the big decision of sending you where next?
The first place I went to after following RMA school, I went to Coast Guard Com State, New Orleans. And that was, of course, you've been hearing all the things about Mardi Gras, and I had an opportunity to experience that. But one of the things I also did was I fell into my first mentor. He was a Chief Warrant Officer, Ron Johnson. Ron Johnson, took me under his wings and started teaching me the RM tools. Okay, hey, to be a good RM, you have to know Morse code. You have to speed up on your Morse code. So at the time, I think by the time I left the comm state, I was able to copy about 46 or 48 words per minute of Morse code, which means that you have to be able to type twice as fast.
Oh man, your skills are kicking big time. Well, you
So
mentioned New Orleans.
hey, Captain Wright, I was all in. I was
All
I was like, give me some code, baby. Let's
well,
code it.
yeah. Well, of course, communications, of course, the Coast Guard always ready. The Coast Guard's going out. They say you have to go out, but you have to come back in to rescue people, search and rescue procedures, law enforcement, so many duties of the United States Coast Guard. Hey, you mentioned New Orleans. I went down for the Coast Guard. I had a student of mine who was here at Syracuse University, Lieutenant Pat Philman, eventually became a Coast Guard captain. In fact, Pat eventually ran the Coast Guard's Office of Information for the United States Coast Guard.
Okay.
He came to Syracuse and the Nnoa School of Public Communications to do his master's degree. And this is how it happened. He was the XO of an 82-foot Coast Guard cutter stationed at your location, Cape Canaveral. And the day we had that disastrous explosion of the Challenger that day, that was a rough day. In fact, Ron McNair, man, my great fraternity brother, the Omega Psi Phi fraternity, and of course Ron's big scholarships all over the place. And
yes, I was a McNair scholar.
Oh wow! I got to bring up because I did the commencement address at Elizabeth City State for Ron McNair.
Oh wow!
Yeah, the summer of 1998. But we'll get into that and when we circle around Elizabeth City State. But getting back to Lieutenant at that time, J.G. Pat Philman, Coast Guard Academy grad. When the Challenger blew up, all of the debris came down, on the ocean. And of course, a lot of it landed right on them, on that 82-foot Coast Guard cutter. So Pat brings the cutter back into Cape Canaveral, where you were stationed, the area well. And all of the media, CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, were at the pier. And they hit Pat immediately, asking him questions, and he was completely lost. So what, all he knows, the spaceship blew up. And the commander of the Coast Guard was watching it on TV. And he said, oh my God, we got our young lieutenant in a mess here, but he'll make an excellent public affairs officer. He needs some more training. So they sent him up to Syracuse, and I was Pat's advisor. And of course, later years, he was the PAO. What district is that in New Orleans? Is that the 8th district? I'm trying to.
Yes, sir. It's the
8th Coast Guard district, right. Admiral Merlin, I was the commandant of the 8th Coast Guard district in New Orleans. And they put together a big conference of all the commanding officers. And it was at a hotel in New Orleans. And Pat called me on the phone and said, hey, Captain Wright, can you come down to New Orleans? I want you to work and show all our commanders how to work with the media. So I never forget that time. Went down to New Orleans, and it was a good time.
Yes, sir.
But I'm not going to get into those two hurricanes down Bourbon Street at 3 o'clock in the morning, though, either. But we'll get back to you. Now, okay. Now you're a radioman in the United States Coast Guard. You're
third class,
incredible. First class, things are dancing. All right, after you get out of New Orleans, thank God, the Mardi Gras, a lot of people haven't gotten out of New Orleans. The partying was going too much.
Oh, yes, sir.
What is the next location for you, Captain Warren?
I got promoted. I made E5 pretty quick, and then I went to the Coast Guard Cutter Valiant. Coast Guard Cutter Valiant was out of Galveston, Texas, and then that's where I met my mentor, Captain John G. Witherspoon, who was also a huge NNOA member. And Captain Witherspoon took me up underneath his wings, and he taught me a lot. And I had the opportunity to hang out with him. I met his wife, Carol Witherspoon, who I still keep in contact with today. Matter of fact, I not too long ago spoke with John Jr. I still keep in contact with the family. And you're talking about a phenomenal person. Captain Witherspoon really was the avenue to catapult me throughout my career.
To our NNOA family, and also to everybody watching our This is NNOA podcast with yours truly, Captain Rick Wright. Our guest today is Captain Warren Judge, United States Coast Guard. And he has mentioned a Coast Guard legend, Captain John Witherspoon, United States Coast Guard. Captain Witherspoon, I think, was our second captain, wasn't he, in the Coast Guard?
Second African-American captain.
Let me get the, this is African-American History Month, everybody, and let me get with the program, as my late sister Barbara Wright of Elizabeth City, North Carolina would say, and that's what she said from heaven. Hey, brother, get with the programs. Okay, but Captain Witherspoon also, I think, was the first African American to command a Coast Guard cutter too, either first or
Yes.
second, wasn't he?
Yes, he was the first African American to command a Coast Guard cutter, which was a buoy tender. And
Captain John Witherspoon, Papa Stone.
Papa
Is that it?
Spoon, yes, sir.
Oh
It
God, I'm
was
thinking about some Coast Guard. We used to call him Papa on board
yes.
there.
Everybody used to. Matter of fact, when we was on board the Coast Guard cutter, they would call him Papa Spoon, and they called me Teaspoon because they knew I wanted to, eventually get into the officer program.
Yes. Well, God, Captain John Witherspoon, who I met many years ago also, and we had an incredible conversation talking about the Pea Island lifesavers of the Pea Island Lifeboat Station in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, the first all African-American Coast Guard lifeboat station. And of course, my family, the Mackey family and the Collins family, I'm a direct descendant of those great Pea Island lifesavers.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yes, sir.
Third. So let me get back to you. I got a spot like you. I am just in heaven with you today, Captain Warren Judge. Now, Warren, while you're on board that Coast Guard cutter, Captain John Witherspoon is steady laying stuff on you, man. What kind of leadership, what kind of career path he laid out for you, man? He was talking to you.
Captain Witherspoon laid out the career path for me when it was time for me to transfer. I was making E6, and he was telling me, "Hey, Pet Officer Judge, I'm going to send you to Air Station Elizabeth City, North Carolina." And I said, like, I don't know where that is. I don't want to go there. And he turned around and he said, "Well, that's where you're going. I know you've been speaking about going to college, and right down the street from the air station is a small historical Black college and university." And I said, "I never heard of it." And I kept saying, like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go there. And then he turned around and looked me square in my eyes and said, "Pet Officer Judge, you're going to Air Station Elizabeth City. You're going to go there. You're going to apply for college. You're going to start taking some courses, which would try to help you get into the officer program." And then after that, that's when you just say, "Roger, CO."
Roger, CO, salute. Confirm, I will go. That's an order. I'm ordering you to Elizabeth City Coast Guard Air Station. Captain Warren Judge, you have just brought back, boy, I have so many magical memories. My mother, Reuben Wright III's grandmother, Mrs. Lily Mae Wright of Elizabeth City, and all the mothers of her era. I'm talking the 1950s now. And Elizabeth City, the wonderful city that you're living in right now, that I grew up in, we were dealing with segregation. And all of the African-American Coast Guard sailors from Coast Guard Air, Elizabeth City, and the brothers also were from Naval Air Facility Wicksville on the Navy side. Two big blimp squadrons and helo squadrons were there. But when they came into Elizabeth City, they found solace down on South Road Street, Martin Street, Southern Avenue, Roanoke Avenue. That's where and of course, my father used to be the general manager of the Gaiety Theater, an all African-American movie theater there in Elizabeth City. So that's the world I grew up in. But all the sailors would come and the Coast Guard would come in, and my mom and all her girlfriends would feed all the guys, give them a place to stay and enjoy. And there were a number of nightclubs called the Royal Peacock, the Blue Room, Bots. Oh man, Mr. Davis's pool parlor where all the brothers hung out, man. Brings back a lot of memories. Okay, so you're at Elizabeth City Coast Guard Air Station, and you get to the air station as a radioman. Also, what were your duties at Elizabeth City Coast Guard as a radioman, Captain?
As a radioman there at the E6 in charge, I was the radioman in charge for a lot of the communications on board the aircraft, which was the C-130s, the H-60s, and then we also did some communications crypto gear for the blimps. I was there loading crypto gear and having that knowledge and understanding for the blimp site there in Wheatsville. And I was, I saw it when everything started burning up, probably about a year or so after I got there, when the big blimp site caught fire.
Yeah, Airship Dock 2. That building was the largest building constructed with wood in the United States of America. Yeah, Hangar 2. I used to go in there all the time because HS-3, Helicopter Squadron 3, when I was a kid growing up, had their unit there. And a lot of the Navy and Coast Guard sailors, as you did your community service, I owe it also to Coast Guardsmen and Navy sailors, because they were our mentors. They became our, Boy Scout troop leader and all. Never forget Petty Officer Danny Reginald Echoes. He was an aviation electrician with Helicopter Squadron 3. But there was another brother, Captain Warren Judge, at Elizabeth City. And I'll lay out his name, and maybe I'm sure there's some people on this is Nnoa podcast. Remember Lieutenant Commander Milt Moore Jr. Milt died a number of years ago, but he was the first brother at Coast Guard Air Elizabeth City who was a radarman, similar rate that you had. And I used to go up in the air traffic control tower at Elizabeth City Coast Guard Air Station, watching him bring the planes in, landing and taking off. That was fascinating. But back to you now. Already, you had did you start classes immediately when you got to Elizabeth City?
I started taking 1 or 2 classes there. I applied for the Coast Guard Officer Program about 7 or 8 times and couldn't get selected. I applied for the college program twice. I couldn't get selected. And then in 1995, I got selected for both the officer program and the college program, and they asked which one I wanted to do. And prior to that, in 1994, Captain Witherspoon passed away.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, he passed away on January 4th, 1994, because that's my daughter's birthday. My daughter was born January 4th, 1993. So, that's definitely a bit significant there. And as I promised my mom, I promised him I was going to get a degree. So I chose to go to college. And that program, the C-SPI, which was the PPEP program, pre-commissioning program for enlisted personnel, which will allow you to go to any college of your choice for 2 years to get a degree. Since I was in Elizabeth City, I went to Elizabeth City State University, went on to get a degree in computer science. I was a Ronald E. McNair Scholar. While I was there, I also pledged CAPT Psi Fraternity Incorporated. And CAPT Chapter.
Is that a candy cane hanging over on the screen? I'm looking at it right now. Okay.
Yes, sir. Did you need me to grab it for you?
No, you don't need to grab it.
Okay. Hey, let me know, because I keep those skills.
Yeah. Look, one of my best friends who I grew up in Elizabeth City, Albert Robinson, now Reverend A.C. Robinson.
A.C.
He
yes,
is
sir.
a Kappa. And of course,
his brother Rodney is also a Kappa.
Yes. And the funeral home was down on Park Street down in Elizabeth City. When I was growing up. Oh, wow, what a homecoming this is this afternoon. Now, Captain Warren Judge, divine intervention, and boy, I tell you, God works in mysterious ways. Dr. Walter Nathaniel Ridley, who was president of Elizabeth City State from 1958 to 1968, and there was another young brother who was running public affairs named John T. Williams. One of the things that Dr. Ridley was always telling me about, he said, Roosevelt, boy, I wish we could make connections with the Coast Guard and the Navy in providing, education, opportunities, degrees for the sailors there. And of course, we were dealing with a time of, systemic racism and segregated schools at that time. And Warren, you have just laid out Dr. Walter Nathaniel Ridley, who was the first African-American to earn a doctoral degree from a Southern university, University of Virginia. And of course, he awarded me my 4-year scholarship to Elizabeth City State University. Dr. Ridley is smiling in heaven this afternoon. I'm telling you, he is shouting up there, man. He was that kind of one of our great presidents of Elizabeth City State, because you come along and really created that dynamic that he kept telling me about. And my God, you being an African-American, they are shouting in heaven this afternoon, man, on the 20th of February, 2021. Now, Warren, you get selected for the officer program, and basically you come back to Elizabeth City. I mean, you're now a full-time student, right?
Full-time student at Elizabeth City State University. I had 2 years to get a degree, received a degree in computer science.
Yes.
And then I went on to officer candidate school in Yorktown, Virginia.
Okay, Yorktown, which is right up the road to get your OCS, to get your
Yes, sir.
and all.
Get my commission as the ensign.
As an ensign. Oh man, this is getting there. Also, I must also clear my throat and indicate that Dr. Ridley was the president of Elizabeth City State that expanded the curricular offering, that is majors at Elizabeth City State while he was there, laying really the foundation for majors like in computer sciences. And my God, we got the aviation program down there, which is the program in the state of North Carolina, state school. Oh boy, oh man, what can I say? What a story this afternoon.
Now, now also one of the biggest things upon graduation, my mom and my siblings drove up from Florida, from Tampa, to come and watch me graduate. So my mom had those tears of joy because remember in 1986, I failed out the University of Florida and I had promised her I would get a degree. So she was pretty excited at that opportunity to come to Elizabeth City, North Carolina, and watch me walk across the stage.
Boy, I tell you, my memories of Elizabeth City State University are vast. And I tell you, we will be talking till tomorrow, talking about our experiences there. Now, at the United States Coast Guard Officer Candidate School at Yorktown, were the experiences similar to the Cape May experience, Captain Judd, or a little bit different?
Yes, sir. One of the things I tell people, the difference between Officer Candidate School and Coast Guard Boot Camp is multiplied by 10 in an Officer Candidate School, because not only are you receiving all the yelling and screaming, you know, the calisthenics, sit-ups, push-ups, and everything else to that nature. Now they also teaching you about the administration, the paperwork that it takes to be a leader.
Yeah.
They're teaching you more on the managerial, how to be a leader versus just coming out of boot camp and then going to a cutter or going to, you know, going to a unit and be a
right. That. Yes.
Yes, sir.
So you got your Bachelor of Science degree, you're wearing the blue and white colors from Elizabeth City State University, Computer Sciences. Now you are a commission as an ensign in the United States Coast Guard, African-American officer, looking squared away. Now, what happens now, Captain Warren Judge?
Well, this is where all the fun begins.
Oh, yes. Hey, by the way, before I move forward, I read somewhere in your, if I could read it, you got so much stuff written about you, that when you were at Elizabeth City State University, you were having a lot of fun. Of course, you're getting your classes, you joined Kappa Alpha Psi. And I think you said, I think I've read somewhere you ran into a former commanding officer of Coast Guard Air, Elizabeth City, who came up to you and said, Petty Officer Judd, you're having a lot of fun here. And is that a true story or something like that?
Yes, sir. It was Captain Retired Bill Barker. He was the commanding officer of Coast Guard Air Station who was leading the aviation program. And, you know, he would see me out on the campus, hanging out, and, you know, with some of the fraternity guys and doing one of my aviation classes, you know, because he was my instructor.
Yeah.
He said, hey, Judge, I need for you to stay later. I said, like, yes, sir. He said, you're doing good. You're doing a lot of good things, but keep in mind, your focus is to get here and graduate. And I said, like, yes, sir. And he pulled me in under his wings as well.
Yes.
And I ended up graduating with a 3.6, something GPA, and ended up doing really well. But he also wanted me to know it's a difference when you're hanging out on the campus.
Yes.
And when you're planning to go be an officer and a leader in the Coast Guard.
Well, we get you out of Elizabeth City State. Oh, man, what a story. Viking Pride, all Elizabeth City State grads checking us out this afternoon with Captain Warren Judge on this episode of This is Nnoa with Captain Rick Wright. Now, you got the commission, and now the fun is really ready to roll. What's that first duty station for a brand new ensign?
Brand new ensign goes to Command and Control Engineering Center in Portsmouth, Virginia.
Oh, up through the Dismal Swamp. Still.
Up through the Dismal Swamp, correct. So I go to C2 SIN, which later becomes C3 SIN, which later is the unit where I'm currently the OSITs at now. But
so you leave OCS, brand new ensign in the United States Coast Guard, and today we'll get to this. You have made full circle, man. You're the boss with the hot. I don't want to use the word hot.
I'm just a blessed kid.
Okay, really, all right. Well, we'll leave it at that because we go to Portsmouth.
So go to Portsmouth and to the engineering C2CN, and then I was a program. I received a computer science degree in programming, so I thought they would put me into a programming billet. Well, they put me into a software development engineering billet, and I didn't understand it. And I had, a few people pull me to the side and say, "Hey, listen, the Coast Guard is trying to diversify you in this engineering world. So they know you know how to program, but now they want you to start developing your engineering skills." So I became a software developer for the Coast Guard cutters and the systems command and control. And I started, understanding that better, taking some courses and getting into the craft. I started really getting my feet wet with software development.
Wow, you're a pioneer. No wonder you're a genius, man. Before I tell you what, you Elizabeth City State alums, man. Some people finish school summa cum laude, some finish cum laude. I finished Elizabeth City State, thank the Lordy, baby, in industrial arts technology. And I was in the very first class, too, class 1964, that Dr. Ridley had put all those curricular opportunities in place. Now, Captain Warren Judge, you're kicking, big guy. Electronics, technology, computer, software developer, all the Coast Guard cutters cruising all over the world, man. Get your stuff on it. Well, what happens next? Man, this is rocket, baby.
While I was there, I also worked with another lieutenant when I was an ensign. He was a Lieutenant Michael Johnston. I'm going to just say that name because it's going to come back and play later on.
Yeah.
So, and Michael Johnston, African-American lieutenant, he and I had a little words while we were there because we wasn't developing different software. But from there, I went on to Coast Guard Group Mobile in Mobile, Alabama, and I became the Assistant Operations and Law Enforcement Officer.
Man, you close to home too, Tampa, huh?
A little bit closer, yes, sir.
Go back down to your duty stations that you're laying out, and nothing but the real deal, man. I mean, to leave Tampa, Florida, plane up to Cape May, California, then back to Portsmouth. Oh my God, man, the places are kicking. So you are in Mobile, Alabama.
I'm in Mobile, Alabama, doing law enforcement. I got qualified to lead teams throughout the entire Gulf Coast, and I would go pick up a team in Destin, Florida, go do 2 or 3 days of boardings and law enforcement, come back in, then maybe go to Panama City, then come back in, go to Mississippi, come back in. And so I was doing a lot of law enforcement and then the assistant operations in the command center.
Coast Guard and the Gulf of Mexico. I never forget one of my first trips down with the Navy to Naval Air Station, Pensacola, Florida. And that night I met a lovely person, Florida type, who says, "I got to show you the beach." So I never forget, we took that bridge across the Pensacola Bay out to the islands, man. And I first saw the Gulf of Mexico for the very first time in my life, man. And that white sand, wow, what a treat that was, man. Oh,
yes, sir.
Same similarity, Gulf of Mexico, what a body of water. Okay, Captain Warren Judge, the party, your career is explosive, it's dynamite, it's fascinating, it's tremendous in the United States Coast Guard, and it's getting even better. So you leave the New Orleans, Gulf of Mexico area, and what happens next to you?
Upon getting to Mobile, I got there, and then I wanted to further my education, and a lot of senior officers were telling me I was too junior to apply for grad school, and I said, okay, and I applied anyway, and I was eventually selected to go to graduate school of my choice. And I went to Howard University to go get my master's degree in computer science.
Oh, so you're in Washington, D.C., Coast Guard.
I'm in Washington, D.C. now.
Hey, Captain Warren Judge, your dear brother from another mother with Nnoa. I was on faculty at Howard University in the School
Really?
of Communications. Yes.
What years?
1974, 1975.
Okay.
Faculty at
A little
Howard.
bit before me.
Yeah, and I was working for NBC, the National Broadcasting Company, WRC and WKYS Radio, located out on 4001 Nebraska Avenue. So I was in DC, and after about a year or so, then I came back to Syracuse University on faculty at the SI Nnoa School of Public Communication. But I know about the Bisons too, you know, Howard University, yes. So you're getting your master's degree from Howard University, which is the bedrock as we talk about African American History Month and our educational institutions. HBCUs, Divine Nine is still kicking. Hey, I know you and the Capitals had a good time in DC, didn't you?
I had a pretty decent time while I was there, but the focus was to get the education and graduate within 18 months. And then my mom came up for the graduation, and again, you know, tears. And one of the things the university allowed me to do is not wear the cap and gown, but they allowed me to wear my whites.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I was able to graduate in my whites as a lieutenant.
Well, that's great too, because we don't have Navy. I think it's probably a crosstown Navy in ROTC with the crosstown, but I know the Army and the Air Force had ROTC units there. Because I taught a course in Frederick Douglass Hall, an intro course of mass communication I used to teach, and I used to go by the office where the Army ROTC was. So you had Coast Guard colors in that graduation line. Georgia Avenue, Washington, D.C., Howard University, where it is incredible. All right. Sir. You got your Master of Science now in Computer Sciences, baccalaureate, Elizabeth City State. You now lieutenant. Has it happened yet?
Lieutenant, yes, sir. I'm a lieutenant. And upon graduation, I thought the Coast Guard would keep me in the DC area, but they said, no, we're going to give you orders to Electronic Systems and Support Unit in New Orleans.
Oh.
So I went to New Orleans. And while I got there in 2004, and shortly after that, we had a new command, which was Commander Michael Johnston.
Oh, Commander shows up. Good deal.
Who I worked with at C2CEN. And so Commander Michael Johnston was the commanding officer there. And then following in 2005, you know, Hurricane Katrina hit.
Yes, I was just going to bring that up. God saw fit to have you when he blew out New Orleans with devastation and all. And the U.S. Coast Guard was #1 on the list, man, with regards to making things happen. Boy, I see all those fascinating photographs of Coast Guard helicopters pulling people, man, off of roofs, who are pretty much heavy African-American populace, too. So
yes, sir.
You became a hero in New Orleans, Katrina. Oh, the U.S. Coast Guard, you guys are always ready, ladies, too, and ready to dance. Now, out of New Orleans and the Katrina experience, Captain Warren Judge, God is looking down on you, man, because what happens next?
Following there, one of the things I definitely want to mention is that my teams that I work with in New Orleans, they believed in me, they believed in my leadership, and we rebuilt the command and control infrastructure where the helicopters could talk to the land units, and we were credited with saving more than 34,000 lives throughout the Hurricane Katrina timeframe.
Boy, I'm telling this Coast Guard career of yours is like what a Coast Guardman should experience. Wow, Katrina. Remember that Katrina devastation was incredible. And
yes, sir.
General Honorary, General, he came down, man, and I never forget the mayor of, our brother was mayor of New Orleans at that time. He got off the plane, man, and he got off and everything was disorganized, man. He started cursing, man, and everything was happening. Then eventually, man, your great efforts, you'll get that whole communication system going up. And then all of a sudden I noticed when the news media was covering the evacuation, man, there was like a helicopter taking off every 11 seconds, man. One land steady going, man, under you all's incredible leadership during Katrina. Oh,
yes, sir. The Coast Guard was there doing phenomenal things and doing everything that we could to help save the many lives.
Well, y'all put you've had this, and they put the pedal to the metal. United States Coast Guard, baby. Super service, man. Nnoa, Coast Guard, we're on the table. African American History Month with Captain Warren Judge on this edition of This is NNOA with Captain Rick Wright, historian for the National Naval Officers Association. Now, Warren, with that transition, what's the next stop, man? What's the next stop?
All right. Well, before leaving New Orleans, I was able to get my second master's in quality systems management with a concentration in Six Sigma. So, I mean, like as soon as I received that master's degree, I got orders to Officer of Personnel Management in Washington, D.C. area. I think it was in Arlington, Virginia.
Okay. Is that, are you like the detail? I mean, you're the guy who's going to make
it was the details branch, but I was in charge of career management for all officers, and I worked under Commander John P. Daly while I was there, and Commander Daly eventually passed away due to cancer, and he was a phenomenal leader, and he taught me a lot. And as he transferred out of that division, the Coast Guard was like, okay, we're going to bring in another lieutenant commander to be in charge. And he really said, hey, Warren can do this as a lieutenant. And then I eventually made lieutenant commander, and I was in charge of career management branch, OPM 4 for the Coast Guard.
Hey, all the Vikings out there, Viking pride. Boy, that curriculum, Moore Hall. Oh, man, I'm just thinking some of the old buildings, the Williams Gymnasium when I was there, man, Butler Hall, man. Hey, those classrooms were dancing. And look what an HBCU has done, boy, putting us into the biggest environments of challenge in the world. Viking pride, Elizabeth City State University, education, man, dancing. Oh, yes, this is incredible. Now, you're making career development. Of course, you're punching all the right tickets and everything. You're in Washington, D.C. You can go over to Howard University, a Howard University alum. You're riding around Washington looking nice. As United States Coast Guard.
I will go to the campus, go do some recruiting.
Yes. And okay, so after that duty assignment, kind of, the Coast Guard, we keep moving you around. What happens next, Warren? What else do you think about, man?
I put in a package to go to the White House Communications. I made the top 10, then I made the top 4. 4 of us went over for interviews, and that was a tough set of interviews. And then 2 to 3 weeks later, it was on a Friday afternoon, I received a phone call saying that the White House Communications Agency would like to extend a welcome for you to come and be the only Coast Guard person in charge of communications for the president.
Hey, hold on. Let me get, let me clear my throat here. I'm a poor guy from Elizabeth City State University. Did you just say that this Viking who graduated from Elizabeth City State Coast Guard officer just got a phone call from, was that President Barack Obama's team?
No, it was the White House Communications Agency. Okay. And just by chance, at the same time, President Barack had been nominated and won to be the new president.
So you're coming to the White House, African-American superstar brother, United States Coast Guard, coming into the White House with the first African-American president of the United States of America. Hey,
yes,
Warren.
Sir. Yeah, just went through the inauguration. And
hey, Warren, let me just shut up, man. Everybody hey, man, look, brother, tell us about it, man. Tell us about the kind of experiences you had there, man. At the White House, you all over the, man, it's the top of the food chain. Go ahead, Warren. Tell us about it, man.
It was a phenomenal experience. Being there, learning everything about communications at the highest level, with the commander-in-chief and his executive staff. One of the things, maybe my first unique experience was they put me on board a C-17, C-5, and told me to read this book about this thick and said, yeah, you're going to read it, you understand it. And when we land, you should be ready to go. I'm saying, like, what I'm just reading and I'm falling asleep on the plane, and then we're doing a refueling in the air, and 17 hours later we land. We're in Moscow, Russia.
My God. So you guys flew out like Andrews Air Force Base in Washington?
We flew out of Andrews Air Force Base. Yes,
And
sir.
you wake up after reading on trying to find out what I got to do. The plane drops down in Russia, Moscow, the Kremlin.
Hey, we land in Moscow, and one of the things, my first job was I was the airport presidential communications officer. So that's in the learning steps, and then they also asked me to be the PCO for Putin's house. So the president was going to go do some work and have talks at Putin's palace. So I was there in President Putin's palace setting up communications for President Barack Obama.
My God. Hey, Reuben Wright III, our executive director, our guest today, Captain Warren Judge, has just indicated he was setting up all the communications equipment in that mansion that the president of Russia, Putin, lives, and President Barack Obama, all of those communication link-ups. Great brother, Captain Warren Judge, was the man who made it happen, a graduate of Elizabeth City State University, Elizabeth City, North Carolina. What a story. We could really, hey, look, I got one more question. About what it's like. I went on Air Force one time.
Yes, sir.
Hey, what it's like flying on Air Force One, man? You're the communications guy, man, going somewhere.
Well, throughout my tour there at Walker, I got qualified pretty quick. I had colonels who trusted me, who led me, Colonel Bigger, Colonel Michael Black. He's also a member of Omega Psi Phi.
Okay,
I would say that Air Force, yes, Air Force guy. But you know, the colonels and my team trusted me as well. I got qualified pretty quick to lead teams in the United States. Then I got qualified to take a team, Oconus. And while I was in Korea on one of my trips, the Colonel Black came up to me and said, "You've been doing things well, and the president liked everything that happened here in Korea," and said, "Who's ever in charge of these events, he wanted them to come to the White House and, you know, help lead communications there." And so I went to the White House and got qualified. And then while I was there, I also got qualified to be one of the 7 on board Air Force One. So it was a phenomenal experience leading teams in the United States, Oconus, at the White House on Marine 2, Camp David, Air Force One. So I was traveling on an average about 3 weeks per month and enjoyed it.
3 weeks traveling the whole world, providing the communication link-ups for the President of the United States, President Barack Obama. White House experience. All righty, Captain Warren Judge. Boy, this is beyond exceptional. This is an incredible career. After you leave the White House assignment, what's next in your incredible Coast Guard timeline?
Well, after departing the White House and, you know, taking all the tools of communications and engineering that I learned there, I went to Coast Guard headquarters to be in charge of the C4ISR command control, computers, communications, reconnaissance, intelligence. It did that in acquisitions. So now I was able to get my acquisition certifications and knowledge and learning on the back end of the software development.
Boy, I'm telling you, boy, this career is just that. Then you're at Washington headquarters, but the Coast Guard said, we got to get you out of Washington, D.C. and get you back out in the fleet. You already had to, now you can't get any bigger than the White House thing, Coast Guard headquarters. Captain Warren Judge. African American History Month episode. This is Nnoa with Captain Rick Wright, Board of Directors, historian for the National Naval Officers Association. Today, our guest is none other than the famous engineer, Black Engineer of the Year, Captain Warren Judge, United States Coast Guard. And Warren, you leave Washington, what happens? What's the next move, man? You steady moving the family, man. You're in that car still, moving. What's next?
Yes, sir. And then also just want to say one of the things, a few of the things I learned while I was there at Coast Guard headquarters, I was the Black Engineer of the Year modern day technology winners. So I won that, I think, in 2013 and 2014 to be a modern day technology leader while I was there at Coast Guard headquarters. And then following that tour, I went to Coast Guard Base Elizabeth City to be the executive officer, second in command of the Coast Guard base here in Elizabeth City.
Boy, I'm telling you, my late mother, Reuben Wright III's grandmother, Miss Lily Mae Wright, is shouting in heaven now, knowing that we are talking about the Elizabeth City Coast Guard base, air station, and that incredible facility. You know, the beach on the Pasquotank River, the brothers used to have picnics out there, man.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, everyone, you know, everyone in the Coast Guard, we have pavilions up, and now you can go out there and have multiple picnics. They play, you know, volleyball in the sand. They throw horseshoes, and it's a really good opportunity for families to come and have fun there on the base.
Now, I grew up pretty much on the Coast Guard Air Station in Elizabeth City. I was there. The kind of aircraft that were flying those days were PBMC planes, P5MC planes, B-17s, which was the Papa Bravo 1 Golf aircraft they got from World War II. Then eventually those planes wore out. In fact, Captain Judd, I was at the airfield when the last B-17 that was on active service, the Coast Guard flew, it landed coming from Alaska. And it was part of that Coast and Geodetic Survey. They had a big camera in it to photograph the Earth. That's where we had all the satellites and stuff. And she came in that day on this last flight. And then the Coast Guard got a bunch of R5Ds from the Air Force. And I'll never forget the day about 20 of them flew into the air station to go over to the Aircraft Repair and Supply Logistics Center to be modernized. They would go in looking tired and beat up, come out the other end like a brand new airplane. Coast Guard R5Ds. And then after those planes transitioned, you brought it up earlier, I remember when the very first Coast Guard HC-130, Bravo style, landed at the airfield in 1959. And the Daily Advance had a headlining in the newspaper, Coast Guard breaks the new plane barrier. True story.
Wow.
For the Coast Guard. Look, now while you were there as the commanding officer, as the XO of Coast Guard Base Elizabeth City, kind of give this audience this afternoon of the area that you were under commanding, the different units that are at Coast Guard Air Elizabeth City. And I know you're going to bring up those rescue swimmers.
Yes, sir. The base itself housed about 5 other commands. So the Coast Guard Aviation Training Center, where the rescue swimmers, and let me tell you here, Captain Wright, if you haven't been there lately and seen that pool, the rescue pool that they have to train under, oh my gosh, that's phenomenal. And I had the opportunity to tour, and then they can turn off the lights and put waves in the pool and make helicopter sounds. They earn their dollars. That's a phenomenal place there. And then we also had Coast Guard Air Station, Elizabeth City, which I knew from my time there. We also had APO, Asset Project Officer. They fly the C-27s. They were there on the base. And we also have ALC, Aviation Logistics Command, which is right there on the base. Then we also have Station Elizabeth City, another small boat station.
Yes.
Right there on the base. And so the base command took care of all those units on their base, as well as we built and we expanded the partnership with not only the city of Elizabeth City, but ECSU, Elizabeth City State University. Yeah. So we became known as the triage, the big three in Elizabeth City, the Coast Guard, the city of Elizabeth City, and ECSU. And that partnership just flourished, and where we were able to do things together, make big changes in the city, and help the city rise as one.
I'm telling you again, Dr. Walter N. Ridley smiling in heaven, because this is his dream back in the 1950s, and it happened. Thank God. The big relationship between the U.S. Coast Guard Air Station base in Elizabeth City and Elizabeth City State University. And of course, we got the Aviation Sciences program of training pilots at Elizabeth City. Look, you know, Warren, you're a superstar of the United States Coast Guard. Admiral Schultz, by the way, was the commandant of the Coast Guard. He and Reuben are very good. They met at an Nnoa convention. Man, we talking about training aviators for the Coast Guard. Hey,
yes, sir.
Elizabeth City Coast Guard Air Station, Elizabeth City State University should become the Pensacola of Coast Guard aviation. But I'll just shut up and I'm sure that seed is already planted. We already got that working big time now. Now, Warren, call it Captain Judge, please. My humble apologies here on this episode of Nnoa. Such a distinguished guest today. You leave Elizabeth City and you look, do you drive, when you go to Portsmouth, do you go up Highway 17 next to the Dismal Swamp Canal, man? Through South Mills?
17 is the only way to get up there now, unless you go all the way around to Moyock.
Yeah, yes.
Yes, sir.
Man, many trips up Highway 17 up through South Mills, the Dismal Swamp Canal on the left-hand side, all the way up to Deep Creek. They used to have some barbecue at Deep Creek, man, a place when I was a little kid that mom and dad would stop off and we'd eat, man. I always look forward to that. And also seeing all the boats traveling through the Dismal Swamp Canal, which is really the oldest artificial canal still in existence here in America. Look,
wow. Okay.
Now, oh boy, your schedule is busy, man. I know you got to go, man. You Coast Guard officer running everything. Now, you are in Portsmouth, Virginia now. And
yes, sir.
you're in command of the unit there? What is your actual duties there?
When I left base Elizabeth City, my first time I got passed over for captain. So the Coast Guard, not knowing what would happen the second time,
okay,
so I go to C3CN in Portsmouth to be the XO.
Yes.
Which is the old C2CN where I was stationed.
Yes.
And then when I got there a few months later, I was selected for a captain. So,
okay. Now,
after getting passed over and going through those hurdles, and having an understanding, time to grow with myself, I got selected for a captain. And then after that, the list came out saying like, okay, we're going to send you right down the hall to be the 06 in charge of the Engineering Services Division. So what the Coast Guard did is they did away with the commanding officers for the Center of Excellence. So the 06 job is no longer a CO job there. It's the 06 in charge of the Engineering Services Division. So the first unit I was stationed at, graduating Officer Candidate School, C2CN, and now I'm coming back, and I'm back here as the 06.
As the 06, and you're in Portsmouth, Virginia, and you're still living in Elizabeth City, huh?
Yes, sir.
Oh, but many people took that daily transit who worked at the Norfolk Naval Shipyard, over at Tenneco, Newport News Shipbuilding, and Dry Dock Corporation. So many mornings. In fact, my father during World War II was a civilian electrician at the Norfolk Naval Shipyard, and he always told me I was born on the USS Shangri-La, one of those big Essex-class aircraft carriers they were building at the Norfolk Naval Shipyard. But those have been incredible days. Just before I let you go, and I got one other question to ask you, and I know you're busy. I never forget, there was a brother, Coast Guardsman, I forgot his name, Captain Davis, I believe, but he was with the boat station, at Coast Guard Air Elizabeth City. And they had a couple of 44-footers. This is back, I think in the 1950s, 60s, Coast Guard style. And one day, my mother told me they were going on a cruise. And they went out, and the brothers took my mom and a bunch of others out on a Coast Guard cutter. And they cruised all the way down the Pasquotank River, around the Albemarle Sound. And there was a beach over in Hertford called Southern Shores. And it's an African-American beach. Days of segregation, man. So this Coast Guard 44-footer pulls up to this African-American beach called Southern Shores, right below Hertford, North Carolina, on a Sunday afternoon. The place is packed. I think they had a big show there too with Jackie Wilson or somebody there, man. And they pull up, And here are these three Coast Guard brothers with all these beautiful African-American sisters. They get off this Coast Guard cutter. Man, it was like the hit of the day. It was incredible, man.
Uh-oh.
I don't know if I'm sure the guys got permission or they just didn't take the cutter, but that happened a long time ago. So all parties are
we're talking about 1950s.
Yeah, the 1950s. But you can see that the thing of, the days of a segregated environment, an all African-American beach called Southern Shores for Paquimans River, man. And they pulled up, and then they cruised back over down the Paquimans River on the Albemarle Sound, back up the Pasteur River, pulling to the boat station there at Elizabeth City. Now, Warren, I got one thing. There's a photograph, man, I saw Elizabeth City State homecoming a few years ago. And I think you all delivered the football, didn't you, that day?
Yes, sir. One of the things that we set up when I was here as the base XO is on homecoming game day, we run the game day football from the base to the 50-yard line, which is about 2.5 miles. And we get a platoon and, ask people to volunteer to run from the Coast Guard and their families. And we all have on a Coast Guard recruiting shirt and some PT gear. And we run the game day football. It's a phenomenal experience. And we've been doing that for the last 3 to 4 years.
And homecoming in those days, of course, we got COVID-19 and we're trying to get rid of a big pandemic that we're suffering with right now on the 20th of February in the year 2021, African American History Month. The whole country's pretty much shut down for the last year. But homecoming in those days, and I think we'll get back to it, is
yes, sir.
Incredible time at Elizabeth City State University.
Yes, sir. And when we get back to it, just know the Coast Guard, we're going to be there to support.
Well, I tell you, that whole evolution that has happened between Elizabeth City State University and the United States Coast Guard Base Air Station at Elizabeth City is really what a lot of early African-American leaders at Elizabeth City State, like Dr. Walter N. Ridley in particular, had wanted to happen to and concur, and it came along, and here we're talking about it in the year 2021, African-American History Month. Captain Warren Judge, you are a great member of the National Naval Officers Association. And of course, our podcast also is really trying to reach the young junior officers of the United States Coast Guard, United States Navy, and the United States Marine Corps, Public Health Service, National Oceanographic Administration. What does NNOA mean to you?
Well, we'll say thank you. I'm a life member of NNOA. So the National Naval Officers Association means to me, it gives you opportunity to understand and gather knowledge from not only your peers in your service, but also your peers across the board and to the other services. Because some of the same pitfalls and the obstacles we may go through in the Coast Guard, the Navy officers may be going through them, the Marine officers may be going through them as well. So get an opportunity to learn. But the biggest takeaway on being a member of the NNOA is having mentorship.
Yeah.
I would say to the JOs, to the junior officers out there, reach out to the senior officers, reach out and get that mentorship and ask the tough questions like, where should I go next? What should I be doing? How can I do this? Or how can I get there? Because the senior officers in the NNOA has traveled that road and trying to be the trailblazers for you to come in behind us. So don't sell yourself short on not reaching out.
The National Naval Officers Association, our great president, Admiral Sinclair Harris, United States Navy, retired, our great president, and Captain Simonia Blashingame, our executive vice president of NNOA, all waiting to stand by. And of course, we got so many committees. And of course, Captain Mary McAdams down in Atlanta, Georgia, big area of mentoring ship. She heads up that area. And then, of course, the former past president of the National Naval Officers Association, Commander Denise McCullough Crary. I owe everything to her because, Warren, it was you that got me back involved with NNOA. Boy, I tell you, I just, Cheryl, who's head of the program, Ron McNair, program at Elizabeth City State. Remember Cheryl, Ph.D., Dr.
Dr. Lewis.
Dr. Lewis, yes. I came down to Elizabeth City State. Reuben was just born. Reuben was born April 2nd, 1998. God works in mysterious ways, and got this phone call from Cheryl, had met my father, my dad, the late Mr. Roosevelt R. Wright Sr. Dad always went out to Elizabeth City State, and he told me that Cheryl wanted to invite me home to do the commencement address, the summer speech for the Ron McNair Scholars. And I drove down, this was July of 1998 at Elizabeth City State, Ron McNair. I just want to bring up my brother, the Omega Psi Phi fraternity graduate of the North Carolina A&T State University. Also, before I go, I want to remember today Captain Bobby Wiltz. Captain Bobby Wiltz, the first African-American aviator in the United States Coast Guard, very dear friend. He went to heaven a number of years ago. And also, I'll bring up the name again of Lieutenant Commander Milt Moore, two of my big mentors who got me ready. And Milt, boy, I tell you, as a young radarman, and you were just like yourself, community outreach service, and really planted the seeds, not knowing what I was going to do. I love audiovisual, electronics, photography, and aviation. And of course, Elizabeth City Coast Guard Air Station and Viking Pride at Elizabeth City State University is my roots and my foundation there. Well, Captain Warren Judge, United States Coast Guard, boy, I tell you, it's a pleasure. And of course, a pleasure working with you. Looking forward to doing a lot of even more exciting things. And Captain Judge, we got the 50th anniversary of NNOA coming up next year, 2022. And we're going to get together, United States Naval Academy country, Annapolis, Maryland. And the Coast Guard is going to be there shining big time ever.
Yes, sir.
History is there, man.
Maybe. You know, hopefully the COVID pandemic allows us to come there and be in person for this 50th anniversary, as it will be a phenomenal experience for all involved.
Well, Captain Warren Judge, give my best to your family too. Hey, Warren, tell us about your family, Big Dad. Give us a shout out about your family, man.
The family would be, you know, my mom, dad, my brother, William, we call him Junior, Angela and Audrey, my sisters down in Tampa. Without them, you know, it wouldn't necessarily be here today. They helped me grow up. And then the biggest support right now anyone could ever ask for would be my wife, Angela, who's also a member of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. She pledged down at Spelman in '96.
Oh, Atlanta, Georgia, Spelman College, the Ivies, pink and green.
Yes, sir. And then also have the kids, my son Darius, my daughter Alicia. Then you have the grandkids. You have Amari, we call him AJ. You have Dalen, young man, and then also he's married and he has a daughter named Shannon. Then my daughter Alicia has her husband James, who's also a frat brother. You know, he's also a member of Kappa Psi, and they have their daughter, baby AJ. We call it Duchess Elise Journey Smith. So that's the family, but it all comes back to the one who's been supporting me, my wife Angela, and everything that we've been doing together.
Angela, AKA sorority. Angela, I got a lot of AKA stories. In fact, a couple of AKAs I should mention who are Elizabeth City State grads and also faculty member at Elizabeth City State, very dear to me and a long time history and love of the state of North Carolina, Viking Pride, Elizabeth City State. Ladies and gentlemen of the family, and ladies and gentlemen, check it out, this episode of the National Naval Officers Association weekly podcast. This is NNOA with Captain Rick Wright, United States Navy retired, your host, and the executive director is Roosevelt Reuben Wright III of this podcast. Warren, thank you so much. I salute you. Bravo Zulu, Captain Warren Judge. And Warren, I'll see you shortly, man. We still got a lot of good stuff to do. And man, I have tears in my eyes because I'm talking to a brother who is knocking a home run out of the park in my hometown of
talking to a kid that's been blessed.
Carolina. Highly blessed. You are incredible. Okay, Warren, I'll get back to you, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much to the Nnoa family for allowing me to be here today.
Semper Paratus, always ready. The United States Coast Guard, Captain Warren Judge, U.S. Coast Guard. Hey, before I go on this edition of This is NNOA, I mentioned it when we kicked off the show this afternoon that Captain Warren Judge, United States Coast Guard, Black Engineer of the Year, Bayer, Stars and Stripes 2021. He's won a lot of other Black Engineer of the Awards. Hey, Warren, tell us about it. What are your shout outs, man, for Bayer, man?
I want to just say thank you to Clear Communications and the Bayer, the Black Engineer of the Year Award family for blessing me with this phenomenal and prestigious award. Without my teams, my mentoring, my mentees, all my team members, I wouldn't be here in front of you today. So thank you to the Coast Guard. Thank you to Bayer. Deeply, deeply appreciated.
And Warren, your shelf is loaded with awards, man. Hey, we need to put up another bracket, man, on the wall in that other room where you got all the brackets. So you need to come on down and I can do the screwing in, you know.
No, sir. I'm just appreciative of everything that's been being blessings throughout this 34-year career.
Okay, Bayer, and to all of our brothers and sisters looking at STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, you've looked at it, you've heard it, and an example, and especially out of an HBCU, Elizabeth City State University, Captain Warren Judge, United States Coast Guard. Warren, I salute you again, guy.